everybody, how you doing? It's Umi Genevieve, laced in space, constellations on LSD. Thanks for tuning in. You could have been anywhere else and you decided to be here with me, so I really appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I wanted today to talk about just the Mars retrograde that went in yesterday and just overall how Mars operates in our chart in general and within the signs and things of sort. But before I start, as you know, it's always that prayer service. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you for all the feedback. Thank you for all the sessions. Thank you just all for all the understanding and just the conversations where people are just telling me how much, you know, my work really helps them, makes them understand this. And, you know, even the positive, the negative, everything, bro, I appreciate everything because it could have been nothing. So, yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. So today we're talking about Mars retrograde and just that whole energy. So let's get into it. What is Mars and what does Mars mean, right? So today I want to talk about that energy of Mars. When does Mars go retrograde? Mars goes retrograde. It goes retrograde September 9th to November 13th. Mars goes retrograde. Right? Hypes for, right? Hey, yeah. So Mars goes retrograde September 9th through November 13th. So we got a couple, like 2 months or whatever, so to, like, you know, really get into that energy of Mars retrograde. What is Mars? Mars is the energy that rules passions, vitality, anger, sense of direction. It's just that overall, it's the most intelligent sign of the zodiac. Why? Because actions speak louder than words. And then Mars is all about being action oriented, literally putting their focuses, putting their dreams, their goals into absolute action. That's the energy of Mars because it rules Aries. Aries is the first sign. It starts the spring equinox. It starts the beginning of daylight. We see daylight after a cold winter of darkness. So this energy of Mars being in Aries shows us the fact that it is the energy, it's a cardinal energy. So that means it initiates something. It starts something up. So let's talk. Gotta light this blunt, you already know. Let's talk. Where is Mars? Where is Mars the most comfortable? Mars is most comfortable in Aries and Mars is most comfortable in Capricorn. The only reason why Mars is not, I wouldn't always put Mars into Scorpio because Scorpio is in 3 states. Scorpio is the scorpion, the eagle, and the phoenix. Meaning that Scorpio has to go into an evolved state to really understand the dynamics of its depth, right? Because if you put Scorpion in the lowest level, the Scorpion, it has to kill you, but then it dies itself. So it basically kills. In order for it to initiate some sort of healing, some sort of change, it must also terminate itself. And that's the energy with the lower levels of Scorpio. That many times we could be, I'm a Scorpio myself, we could be very self-sabotaging, putting more emphasis on the depths that are old rather than the transformation and the truth. Sagittarius coming next, that comes after that. So I feel like when Mars comes into Scorpio, it's best it's being in its more phoenix state, because then this puts the emphasis of using this much power, because you know Mars is a lot of power, for a extraordinary healing ability. You know, when you put Mars in Aries, it's capable of that much. It wants to initiate, it wants to start something. So when you put that much power into it, it puts power into change, into something anew, something original, something different. So it works best with that Aries nature, and also works best with Capricorn because now it's exalted. It's like it says, with great power comes great what? Responsibility. So when you put that much power in Cap, it now is saying, you know, you have to reserve power for each level of life. You have to reserve certain energies for each level of life. Certain points in your life, you're going to need a amount of, because what carries Aries, Taurus, amount of conserved energy for the next step, So this is why it says with great power, there's great responsibility. That you need to be able to mind yourself and be able to self-govern yourself with all this ability. So it could stay a legacy and stay in your authority, right? Right. So, now, when we look at Mars, we look at Mars as more of a more masculine energy, only because we live in a Saturn type of environment. Saturn's exalted in Libra, where there is gender roles. And because there is gender roles, there comes with, you know, where Mars is placed in strongest, where more masculine. But there's also, it is very sexy when you put Mars energy on women. I know women who have Aries moons, Aries suns, Aries things like Aries risings and things of sort, Mercury and things of sort, and personal planets, personal placements, may feel like they come off more masculine. Now just remember, when you have Aries energy, Mars energy on you, you do not come off as intimidating as you feel. Remember, Mars is a inner, it's more of an inner vitality, an inner endurance. That's why it going retrograde right now is, I'm going to explain that more further, what it can mean for all of us. So it's an inner energy. So many times Mars are energies that need to be kind of pushed around to get some guts. You feel like inside you can eat somebody alive, but on the outside you look pretty as pie. What's your opposition? Libra. You look so sweet, like, oh, you want her to fly. Because it's an inner frustration. It's an inner motivation. Aries cannot look anywhere else but inside and up. Because they either could look at Pisces, which is more of a retrograde energy, or they could look at Capricorn, 10th house, which is all about our goals, our future, and where we're going. So it has to be an inner motivation. So when women have this Mars energy within themselves, it comes off very sexy because it's a woman that knows what she wants. And what do men love? They always want to, like, what do you want? What do you want to do? Where are you going? That's more of a sun is exalted in Aries. I'm a man. I know what I want. I know. That's why they say men usually know what they want. They're just not Libra picking you. Right. So ladies, get into your Mars energy. Figure out that whole Mars energy to see what kind of dynamics are what motivates you and what you find attractive in your mate. Same thing that comes with men. You know, men, Mars is you. Mars is what gets you going. Mars is that vitality, that power within you. Right. All right. So now I wanted to talk about Mars retrograde and also the dynamics, the transits within that, right? So with Mars being retrograde right now we understand the energies of Mars. It's in Aries, so it's going retrograde home. So when you put it in this energy, it's the energy of power, vitality, you know, more our sense of direction. When your Mars is messed up, you won't know where you're motivated in. When you're not getting it, like especially someone who has Aries in the 12th house, or like, you know, a Taurus rising, or have heavy, like, you know, or have like Mars in the 12th house, or energies where Mars is more dormant, or they need to like seek through, like Mars in the 4th house, where their frustrations are kind of things they're not really accustomed to emotionally or subconsciously. It can be a very frustrating and even sometimes a very violent energy, like when you put Mars in like a 12th, Mars in Pisces, Mars in Cancer, things of sort, Mars in like, you know, Scorpio. Like I said, again, it can be very volatile, emotionally volatile. So when you have that whole Mars energy, it's our sense of direction. It's our sense of, you know, where we're going. It's like, you know, it gives us that drive. So when it goes retrograde, we got to take in the whole aspect of what's going on. We have a Saturn in Capricorn. We have a Jupiter in Capricorn. We have a Pluto in Capricorn. So that means there's a heavy Cancer axis. A lot of, like, it's basically saying, stay home. Just stay home, Cancer, stay home. Because of this aspect, Pluto, the money system is changing and the value systems are changing within society. Jupiter, laws are being changed. A lot of things within, like defund the police, things of what is Jupiter, the judge, things of sort. And then there's Saturn, a lot of karmas and a lot of debts that need to be paid off. So, you know, new ways and the new generation could start anew. Because Saturn coming home means that it's time to end a lifetime, end a legacy, end something, right? Pay up the debts, on to the next, right? As we come into Aquarius. As you see what's happening, it's a new world order, a new change, right? Yes. So with that aspect, Mars coming retrograde, and as you can see what everyone is saying, what does this mean for me? What does this mean for me? Which is Mars and Aries is all about. My direction, where I'm going, which is perfect. It's perfect because now it's coming in conjunct to Chiron. A lot of people are realizing they depended too much on governmental just guidance, or just guidance outside society, universal guidance, rather than a self-motivated one. That's why when this energy sextiles in Aquarius, you're going to see a lot of self-maders, a lot of entrepreneurship, businesses that are now moving and in action because it was more self-interested, as the whole society is right now. So when you look at Mars being retrograde, it's basically a time for you to deal with your own inner frustrations, your own inner passions, and your own inner sense of direction. When you figure those things out, Mars will be an energy that you are much more capable of. It's a masculine energy. And what are men usually about? What I need to do, how I need to get it, and when I need to get it. That's it. That's all. You understand? That's that whole energy. So when you get into Mars, you start to realize your competitiveness. You start to realize your sense of direction. You start to realize exactly what it is I want to assert. So as it becomes retrograde, deal with this in this whole Capricorn stellium. So don't be worried about everybody, because Capricorn is in 3 planets right now. Can't really be worried about everybody, because everybody got to stay home. Everybody got to figure out what's going on within their home business. We even got a Gemini North Node. So that means a lot of people are doing the whole virtual learning, getting into their inner childhood voice so they could teach the next generation and basically give the next generation a little bit more further guidance than the last generation, as it's time now to end a lifetime, to end a cycle, a century, a Capricorn energy, right? So as we sit with this retrograde, we're going to look now Mars through the houses. I'm going to go through all the signs, and you can attach signs. Remember, Aries is last, Aries is first, Pisces is last. So Aries is Aries. We're going to start off with Aries, and we're going to finish off with Pisces. And as you would attach it, it's 12 houses. So Aries is attached to the first house, and Pisces is attached to the 12th house. So we're going to go all through the signs, and you can attach them to houses also. And we're going to break down the energy and get a better concept of it. All right. Thank you. You guys still here with me? I hope y'all still here with me. Yes. About to light this blunt real fire. So, Aries being home. We already spoke about how Aries is when it's in a home placement. Aries finds its strongest energy here. Aries being in the first house is great energy. It means that action is in the sense of is in direction. You are now placed, and your energy is now focused and most passionate about your sense of direction. Also, your biggest frustrations are about your sense of direction. When people have an Aries rising, or have a Mars rising, or just have energies where it's like Mars being in the first house, it just shows that whole aspect that is your biggest focus this lifetime. This is the biggest and it's really your passions and your sense of assertiveness and your sense of leadership. Basically where I stand in my path, what is most important to me, who I am and who I am here to become, is the most important thing for me. And this is why most Aries risings or Mars in the first house, Mars and Aries, are very much self-motivated and can come off very selfish sometimes, because of the fact that they're more inspired by their own sense of direction. They don't really they can't really rely on you because they have so much pressure. Because when you put Mars here, you put an amount of impulsiveness on a sense of direction, right? So now when we go to Mars being in Taurus, when you put Mars in Taurus or in the second house, it now goes into the aspect of it being more money focused, asset focused, having focus, the value focus. Mars in Taurus are I am more passionate and more frustrated within my having department, within my self-worth department. So when you have a Mars in Taurus, you should be focused on really learning how to monitor value. Let it be spending, saving, everything, learning how to find the powers within having, within feeling good, within feeling worthy, so you can have some for later, so you can have some to be, because it's still in that Aries leadership position, so it's still going to want to Libra its way. It's still going to want to Libra that whole sense of its way. So because that's its opposing energy. So when you have a Mars in Taurus, you have to be aware that a lot of your frustrations and a lot of your passions are within the fact that you have. And so that when you do go to, because everything has an axis, Mars and Scorpio, that you are able to give and bring immense power and change to other people's lives, but still have some to have. So it can continuously be able to motivate you to be able to be balanced by your axis. Right. So now when we go to Mars into Gemini or Mars into third house, this is now a Mars energy that goes into the aspect of hobbies, siblings, Because remember, Mars is an energy of fatality, or of, it's a warrior, so maybe of opposition. So definitely of opposition. So here, when you have a Mars in Aries, there might be some situation with siblings sometimes. Also, since this is a very mental energy, and it's an energy that's based off, our nervous system, you can be very gifted with your hands when you have a Mars in Gemini. You have a very influx of, mental capabilities. You have a very powerful mind. You're very powerful in speech. Mars and Geminis are really, they have an influx, and their biggest passions are their sense of skills. They have many of, like, plethora of different skills. They have and it's just an overly, like, that could also be their biggest frustration, the fact that they have many interests and many curiosities, but they don't know exactly which one to channel and which one to put in that whole first. Like, what is my first idea? When you have that whole Mars in third house or Mars in Gemini. Also, be careful, because it's fatality, so be careful with your nervous system, and be careful with putting pressure on yourself so it doesn't get you too anxious, where you become violently anxious or violently nervous. Now, when you have Mars in Cancer now puts a whole different tone in it, because now it's in fall, because Mars is exalted in Capricorn. So when you put Mars in the fourth house or Mars in Cancer, it can get pretty chaotic there, because Mars in Cancer is now you're putting so much power into your emotions. You're moving off of your emotions, and you know how people say do not act on emotions. This is why this energy can be a very chaotic, and even even if we don't even want to take it chaotic, this can be a very big baby making energy, because your biggest passions and your biggest frustrations are within the home or within your emotions. And since Aries is action oriented, and the first house is the energy of, your physical, how people see you, you can now use your emotions, like, you figure out your emotions physically. This can be violently, or this can be sexually. It all depends on where you sit your moon energy, because as you have a Mars in Cancer, you got to look towards the moon and see how you operate within your moon dynamic. But it's not always a good energy, because, like you always said, you shouldn't act off your emotions. Now we have Mars in Leo. Again, another thing I want to throw out there, Mars, since it's a fire energy, it does very well with other fire signs. So Leo and Sag will really like Mars. So when you have a Mars in Leo or a Mars in fifth house, this puts a very big inspiration, motivation around my identity, my self-expression, my self-confidence, and also my sense of leadership again. Because Aries likes the sun, and the sun likes Aries. That whole energy there. So when you put Mars in Leo or Mars in the fifth house, you see someone that is very original, very there's a passion around their self. These are confident individuals. These are individuals that find, especially when you put it in the fifth house, they find a lot of assertiveness and a lot of character within their ego. That's their biggest motivator, the fact that they push identity. Or in the fifth house, or they need to, because sometimes when we have aspects, we're not always pushing the energies we should be pushing, and we need kind of like some assistance. So aspect shows you how you need to work on things, and always using yogas always lets get through things, and let you kind of like get the karma off things, so it can just be a little bit more of a smoother understanding, a smoother vibe. All right. So now we're moving into Mars in Virgo. I personally like Mars in Virgo, because Mars in Virgo means the main motivation and the main focus and passions are around detail, are around craft, are around projects. So when I see Mars in Gemini, yes, it may take some time to get things out, because there is a pressure around perfectionism and around something being actually a service. It works. So these people who have Mars in Virgo, they may take some time to put projects out, and they may be very hard on themselves when it comes to being, to bringing out exact detail in something that is, sufficient, efficient, works. A little bit of a perfectionism here. As soon as they get past that and they understand that, they do get a little frustrated around that. These are people who put out great projects, great value, things of great value. I really like Mars in Virgo. It's a very sexy placement too, especially in men. I like Mars in Virgo because it puts that whole aspect of, this is a simple man, but a man who is clean to detail, you know, and that's very sexy. You know, Mars are men placement. So when you see these aspects in a man's chart, this is showing them how they assert their masculinity. So I like Mars in Virgo. I'm a, you know, progress Virgo rising. I'm a Jupiter in Virgo. So I like a man who's simple, but he's deep. Like, you know, he's simple, but you can tell he has checked every point of himself to make sure he look clean cut and collected. You know what I'm saying? Word. So now we have a Mars in Libra. When you have Mars in Libra, again, another placement where it is now in detriment because Mars likes Aries. So it's not in good placement here when you put it in Libra. Libra wants to be cooperative. Mars wants to be assertive. So this could be a placement of a real pushover. Someone who kind of gets frustrated after the last straw of things. So it can make someone kind of, you know, erratic. Kind of, you know, even kind of like, oh, okay, or like people might have to dance around you when you have a Mars in Libra. When you put it in men, it's another thing that makes a man a little bit, because Mars likes Aries, remember? Mars likes Capricorn. So when you put it in Libra with someone who's trying to assert and be cooperative, which doesn't work, it's either you like, what position are you playing? It kind of puts Mars in a very sketchy place when you have Mars in the 7th house or Mars in Libra. This can put you in a dynamic where you don't really know how to assert your frustrations, and you kind of go back on right and wrong because you're more worried about how the dynamics of you and the person are and not the actual right and wrong of things. And this can put you in a lot of bad circumstances, especially with women. It can put you in sometimes, you know, very volatile and abusive situations because you're upset, but you're still trying to play both sides. Now we have Mars in Scorpio. Again, we talk about Mars being in Scorpio, that it's best in its evolved state. If it's not in an evolved state, it can be very destructive. Scorpios have to kind of grow into 3 levels of life. And like they say, most Scorpios don't get to the 3rd level of life. The 3rd level of the Scorpion dynamic, because Trinity, because of the fact that it takes a lot. Remember, Scorpio is the house of shared resource, so it's the house of debt. A lot of times Scorpio move off revenge because they feel like, Taurus, you owe me something. I shared a very lucrative, resourceful part of myself with you, shared resources. Now you owe me something. That's why this is the house of sex. A lot of people will attach sex with, like, okay, because I slept with you, or because you slept with me, or some sense there must be some sense of bondage here, or some sense of debt that is owed here. That's why this energy needs to be evolved, because it's exalted in Uranus, to know that there's times where we have to let people go, even though we've given them a lot of our inner resources, so we can now become anew and get to the next level of things. That's why Mars being here can be a very beautiful placement. I have it, but it's something I kind of really struggle with, because I know that there's a lot of things I won't really get repaid back for, and that it's okay, that if I'm really doing this as a service, as a real, you know, medicine woman, that this just brings me more inner resources, is more inner power. But it's something that you kind of have to grow into. It is not an easy placement having Mars in Scorpio. It can be very difficult because, remember, it is a shared resource. It's very hard for a Scorpio to not feel like they are not owed for the resources that they share. They aspect Taurus, which is a very, as we know, me energy. So you know, as much as Scorpios want to give, there is a part of themselves that can be very selfish when it comes to their emotions. All right, so now we're going to Mars in Sagittarius. Again, Mars being in a fire sign, always good here. When you have Mars in the Sagittarius on the 9th house, it's always good. You are a pioneer in thoughts. You are a pioneer in thinking. You are your own original kind of teacher. You are self-taught. That means that your biggest passions is going towards something that is more abundance, educational. Like, you want to really you are motivated by the fact that there is more to know, more places to go, and more ideas to grasp, more concepts to grasp. This is also a big business making energy, because when you put Mars, self-made energy, originality energy, you know, I want to be action oriented in something that I lead, and you put it in Sagittarius, which is all ideas, people, concepts, and just more immutable, changeable energy. You know, and what is it coming after? What comes after? What comes before Sag? Scorpio, which is a money energy, depths. So this could be a great Mars and Sag. If you're in business, you have the energy to be in business. You have the push, the optimism, the motivation. I love Mars in Sagittarius. It's a nice place with Mars in ninth house. It's ninth house. It's a great placement for people who are like, you know, who really are. It's also like putting a Sagittarius rising, people who are very much connoisseurs of life. This is also, I also look at it as like a lucky placement, because you can't do wrong knowing that there's more out there to conquer. Yeah. Just be careful when you have a Mars in Sag. It's impulsive. You have a lot going on. So, you know, really get a mentor and some sense of guidance whenever you have Sagittarius placements. You're a guru yourself, so you need to also get a guru to guide you. We all need our own teacher, because we're all teacher. It was also always a student. Now we're going into Mars in Capricorn. Mars in Capricorn is exalted, because with great power comes great responsibility. So Mars in Capricorn loves it, because like we said before, with all this energy, with all these passions, it needs to be directed towards something that brings 10th house longevity, a sense of, you know, later on. You need to be able to conserve your energy so it can be placed properly where it belongs. Remember Capricorn, you are governing emotion. You are in a position where you help people direct their emotions. So you have to have a lot of energy to do that, a lot of power to do that. Now we're gonna move into Mars in Aquarius. I love Mars in Aquarius. Again, another placement as putting two original concepts together. Mars in 11th house is putting two concepts together, where this puts a sense of really being, because Mars is self-made, self-governed, and then Aquarius, experimentative. This is someone, and also this is a very, very freaky personality, because their passions rely on the fact that they experiment. I like these placements a lot, because it shows directly an energy that works for themselves. They have to work for themselves, Mars in Aquarius, because of the fact that they are their own network. If they don't motivate themselves, if they don't go out there and push forth some sort of idea, some sort of vision, they have no network. So they're literally, these are real self-entrepreneurship energies. Mars and Aquarius, these are energies that are they have very progressive passions, very progressive visions. I see these kind of energies being before their time, because it's so passionate about things that are beyond even its own understanding. That's why they can be very like have a lot of ideas going on, be in a lot of different networks, know a lot of different people, and because of that, they're able to always rely on the fact that they always, whatever idea they come up with, there's always a platform or a network they can just merge into or bust through it. I love this energy. I like Mars and Aquarius a lot. Mars and Aquarius, as you come into Saturn and Aquarius, and it does that whole trine, it's going to be very good for you, especially if you have something going on where you have certain ideas that maybe haven't, hit the market or can't hit the market yet. But as Aquarius goes into Saturn, as Saturn goes into Aquarius, and we get into that whole energy, because it is a big shift, it is a big change, you'll see more of your concepts be more welcome. But I love that energy. Now, as we get into the last house and the last sign, we get into Mars in Pisces. Now, Mars being in Pisces means it puts it in a place where it now retrograde. Mars being in like the 12th house, because that's like a retrograde house. It's more of a dormant energy. So when you put Mars into Aquarius, or Mars into Pisces, or Mars in the 12th house, it now puts it in a sense where you kind of can't reach your Mars. You are this energy, depending on how you dive into your shadow work, because you can only get into this energy if you are aware of shadows, of your own shadows. When you get into your shadow work, this can be a very powerful subconscious, a very powerful spiritual world for you. But if you're not into your shadow work, this can be a very volatile, because that you don't know where your frustrations lie. You don't know how to reach them. So they can only come in when you feel alone, when you feel isolated, when you feel like more of a frustration that is like creeping up on you. Mars in Pisces and Mars in 12th house really need to work on, you know, the parts of themselves that they don't necessarily always see shadow, because these type of Mars, they can be people who really hurt themselves, people who really feel like, you know, an internal frustration that cannot be reached. And it's usually because there's like, you know, usually trauma that's happened behind closed doors, or usually some sense of, you know, because remember, you know, the 12th house is the house before you're born. So it's like when you're in your mother's stomach and things like that. So when you have these kind of Mars there, or you have Mars in Pisces, maybe around that time, there was maybe violence going around, or maybe some sort of oppositions or aggressions going around. So this can make a very dormant and sometimes a very struggling Mars, a passive Mars, a Mars that is cannot always be in tune with their frustrations, in tune with their passions. But when you do shadow work, this can be a real powerful Mars, because you're now dealing with the fact that you do have parts of yourself that you hide away from, that you only go to when you're forced to go there, isolated, when you're like usually these places are prisons, hospitals, insane asylums, third world countries. So people don't usually check their shadow side unless they're forced to, unless their 6th house body is forced into some sort of environment condition. So when you do dive into shadow work, Mars in Pisces, Mars in 12th house will be more of you are aware of the aggressive undercurrents. It makes you intuitively psychic with opposition. It makes you intuitively psychic with the masculine dynamic. It also makes you aware of, you know, and there's also a deep push and a deep motivation to be in tune with your spiritual self, with your soulful self. So yes, thank you everybody. I really appreciate it. I hope, you know, this Mars segment we did, this is my first time doing this. So I hope you got some information. I hope you got in tune with your Mars in retrograde again, September 9th through November 13th. Don't be afraid. It just means, you know, we have a Capricorn stellium going on. You have to be aware of other planets before you focus on just one. So if you have a stellium in Cap, that means that there's a lot of stuff going on in society right now. So stay up in the house and get your Mars retrograde, using it as dealing with your inner frustrations. Can this be a little volatile for other people? Hell yes. Why? Because Mars in Aries opposes a Libra energy. So there might be, since we're in the house, a lot of couples that kind of have to, like, you know, get through a rift. A lot of couples that kind of like got to duke it out. You know, a lot of one-on-one dynamics that got to duke it out to really figure out their positioning in each other's lives. So yes, this could be a hard time for relationships. This could be a time where certain relationships have to duke it out and certain people have to have their little face off. But it's necessary, because it's forcing you to deal with your inner frustrations, to get in tune with your Mars. Love y'all. I love y'all for life. You already know. Umi Genevieve. I see y'all later.